Hi there folks, Simmon here with another Intermediate Invitational TAC Tournament match, this time between Johanna and Subhog. Johanna has been part of the community since back in 2016 when the game first released on Kickstarter, and Subhog has only been playing since around July of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Subhog, however, has played quite a few more games. Johanna has been inactive for many years and has only played a total of 83 games, whereas Subhog has played somewhere around 443 games in just the 3 to 4 months that he's been playing. So it looks like we are now ready. Let's go ahead and jump in to game 1 of Subhog versus Johanna. We see adjacent corners here right off the start. Will we see this mirrored opening that we've been seeing so much in the past few months on these various tournaments we've been having? It does look like it. Johanna has been part of the TAC community for a very long time, though not super active in the last few years. So this is sort of a comeback tournament for Johanna. Black now building around here. Interesting play going here. Also interesting that white did not play a capstone in this spot. Typically we see a response where it's something like that. A black flat over off to the side of that initial line of white, or a capstone off to the side, but instead we saw this play, which I feel like opens up a lot of opportunities for white to drop a capstone there, but have not done that yet. Black is trying to surround these pieces of white to maintain that stronger center control spot. And so once those captures start coming in, that's when things are going to start to get dicey, because you're going to be creating that strong central position, but you're also going to be creating more liabilities for you in the future. Black building off here, trying to go for that horizontal line and interrupting what white is doing for the vertical, but white still has quite a few flats here, able to capture on and win some capture wars. Okay, white building down here at f2. That is trying to make this connection. Playing up at d6 would be attack threat for white. We may see black make a capture here pretty soon, capturing probably up with d2 onto d3, creating that vertical or that horizontal line and cutting off that vertical threat. Instead, black playing up here at d6, making the placement. White makes the capture. I think we're going to see a capture war in this area that's going to result in a capstone being dropped by black. Black has been content to just place these pieces lately, or so far. Instead, now dropping the capstone, ready to capture over onto this stack. It's a pretty solid position for a capstone. It does follow a lot of the guidelines in the Capstones TAC University video. And we do see black make that flatstone capture with the capstone, capturing that stack, white dropping the capstone in the empty space that was left behind. I think we'll see maybe a play here at e6 or at d1 here for white. Try and keep this vertical threat going. Potentially even playing here at c2 to go for that horizontal threat. We do see the e6 being played. That does make that vertical anchor point for white. Black's capstone is in a pretty strong position here, able to cut off a lot of white's threats. Black just building for their own vertical threat right now. White making that tack threat. Black tossing that capstone stack up, erupting that whole vertical threat of white. We do see white make that over capture, makes that tack threat yet again. Black can interrupt that with that capstone. Now that threat is essentially dead. We're likely to see white shift gears here and go for that horizontal threat. And we do see that playing here at c2. Takes that threat in the horizontal direction and starts cutting off Black's vertical threat. Black now building in front of White, trying to make that connection here, going for that diagonal. White is going to have to build around that and count on some captures in order to make that threat complete. Black also going to have to make some captures here as they start building this checkerboard pattern. Black capturing over already. I can see White building off here, maybe at a3 or at a2, to continue this pressure on Black's stance. If it's an a2 flat and b2 comes over, a wall right here would be great because it would be able to capture on either of those stacks and free that captive. So that would be something good if an a2 is placed and then b2 comes over. Instead, White going to be placing up here at b4. It was an interesting tactic because it is sort of farther away from their own horizontal threat here at the bottom. So it's going to have a tougher time connecting. Perhaps kind of trying to go for a capture down to threaten that stack and get this to move up. Not sure. Black may decide to even capture over here onto b4 with c4, as they have been doing, kind of going across, trying to make some sort of Tinué pattern happen, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon here. He does make the placement at a2. This is not attack threat, but it's very close. Oh, it is attack threat. Yeah, placing here at c3 would be attack threat. Would be a road, rather. So it is currently attack threat. This would be a road. White is going to have to respond to that by either a placement here or a capture. But a placement would do the trick. I can see a white flat being placed at c3 to stop that threat. And then any sort of capture that goes down here could be met with a capstone stack capturing over onto it and getting a more powerful stack there. Black instead building across here, sort of fortifying their position, getting ready to win any capture war here onto b3. I like that. I can see White playing here at a4. What that would do is it would cut off this vertical line of Black, sort of fortify this position at b4, also start building towards this horizontal line themselves, being able to fill in here at e3 next, make some captures maybe. Instead, White coming down onto b3 that just got fortified to win that capture war. Black comes up. This is a attack threat. White's going to have to respond likely with this c3 to the left, as that is their only response besides this coming over. Black wins that capture war. White drops a wall ready to capture that big stack. This stack's got pretty much nowhere to go now. It can't go up because that wall's blocking. It can't go to the right because that capstone's there. If it goes to the left, that might be fine. It's coming down instead. This is ready to cut off all of White's horizontal threats. So White may just start to build here at c3 again and go for that horizontal threat now that this stack is out of the way. Or could decide to build on b3 instead. Getting ready to capture this stack here. I could also see Black tossing this stack over onto c1 and d1 to cut off any sort of capture that White wants to make there. Black's position is strong. White's position, because it has so much center control, I feel like it's not in a bad spot right now. Black is kind of throwing all their eggs into the one basket of that vertical threat. And I think that it may work out for Black in the end, but it's hard to say. White does have a pretty good hold on this area here. and is able to shut down all of Black's threats. I can see Black trying to shift eventually over to a horizontal road threat here up at the top. I feel like that would be his best bet for a long-term game. But right now, it looks like he's focused on White, because White may have the momentum here. It's hard to say. 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's a 3, basically, and that is a 2. So yeah, White does have the momentum, would be able to create a road quicker than Black just by placing. However, Black does have the opportunity to interrupt everything that White does here with captures. And so Black would be able to keep moving around here, and I don't think would have any trouble building that. White fortifying that position, also building up here at c3, makes that line, connects this. So now he does have 4 flats, counting the capstone, in a row here, going towards that road, that horizontal road. Black will eventually have to respond here. Black is building up here off to the side. This is cutting off that avenue for a horizontal threat for White, while also still building up for this vertical threat for Black at the same time. Do like to see those multi-purpose moves. White now deciding, okay, I'll go up for this vertical threat then. I've already got this line halfway built, might as well go for it. Black taking his time, trying to figure out what he can do. If he has the momentum, he does not. Goes for that capture, and that cuts off that vertical attack threat of White, but also goes for that horizontal threat that I was talking about earlier. Some rapid play here, dropping up at e6, and then playing again at f5. This creates that horizontal threat here going, and kind of cuts off this, but White is going to win a capture war onto this stack because Black can't bring that capstone over because it would result in a road for White. Black doesn't have to worry about that yet, though. He can make his own tack threat by placing up here at b6 or at a6 or b5 or a5. He can make that tack threat. I like playing at a6 a little bit better. While it does make the tack threat there, it also starts going for this line on A. And it's currently not a tack threat for White, so he can take that time to do that and make any sort of captures probably down here to cut that line off. And capturing down here would cut that line off. And perhaps unpin this capstone. Like I did say, Johanna has been part of this community since the very beginning, basically, back in 2016. And Subhog is fairly new, if I'm not mistaken, though Johanna only has about 83 games played on playtac.com, whereas Subhog has over 400 games played on Playtac. So you can tell who does a little bit more playing here just by those numbers. Looks like Black is making that play here at a5, making that tack threat. White's going to come down with that capture. If Black comes over with that capstone, that is a bad move. That will result in a loss. So he's going to have to come over with f5 onto this stack. And that's really his only move other than placing a wall here at e6 to cut that off. I think we're likely to see a capture over with this stack onto f5 to make that threat again. and keep this wall from getting that captive back. And sure enough, we do see that move. If this wall comes down now, we'll likely see, nope, and another wall drops. This is where I wouldn't be surprised to see this stack toss 2 down and then 2 down here. Perfect. Just like I was expecting. This covers that up, gives a really strong position for white. White has to be ahead on flats right now. Let's check that count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for black, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 for white. Black does have some positive flat count differential moves pretty soon here with this stack. I feel like I should come up with a better phrase or term for positive flat count differential move, as that is a mouthful. Okay, so we do see black just deciding, okay, fine, I'll play here. I'll play at a4 and make my connection up for the vertical attack threat. And this is a vertical attack threat in 2 ways, so it can't be stopped by a wall, has to be stopped by a capture, likely with this wall coming over here onto a4, as I believe that's the only move that he can make at this point to stop this road from happening. Because there was a placement at b5 or at a6 for the road, and so this was the only move possible. Black, oh, it didn't work. He had that in the pocket the whole time, ready for that. It was, I believe, a Tinue. Yeah, I believe that was Tinue, and it was a great move, too. Let me look at that again. Place here at a4. And is there any other move that can stop that? This is the only thing that would stop it. So it was, in fact, Tinue throwing that stack up, dropping a white, a black, and a black for that connection. Fantastic play. Really great game. That was a really well played Tinue. That was fantastic. And he was probably looking at that for a while, trying to build that out, which is why he dropped that second wall. Looks like we're jumping right into the second game. Wow, they are playing so quick, they were right ahead of me. We got this adjacent corners and a very interesting variant on the opening, not a mirrored opening, because we do see that it's not white flats going up and down this side close to this. It's instead going horizontally, which is different. My goodness. And this is game 2 of Subhog and Johanna. I'm surprised they're jumping into the second game so quickly. Very fast, very fast. Slightly different opening than we're used to. This is not an opening that I covered in the openings video on the TAC University video about openings, as it is uncommon. I think I've only seen it a couple times in the past few months. Subhog is in the lead here as he won the last game in this match. This time he's playing as white, which gives him a slight advantage here. But this is a very different opening, and so it's also a little too early to say who has the advantage right now. Feels like white is ready to drop that capstone here, ready to take this stack and make this threat. That was a very interesting move, kind of baiting out that capture, which would let that capstone drop in the central position. I like it. That was interesting. Let me look at that sequence again. So he knows he's going to lose any capture war onto this, but he decides to go for it anyway. Capture down, knowing this is going to come over and capture it. Because if it doesn't, he can toss this across and make a really strong spot. But instead, yep, drop a capstone. Then we see this trying to get away from that capstone, move upwards. But white's just saying, fine, I'll just keep building, go for this vertical threat that you can't block off yet. And now I wouldn't be surprised to see black drop a capstone here at c5, and it looks like that's what they did, as that allows him to cut off this vertical threat of white and start going for this horizontal threat, connecting back to a6 and going across for this stack here. And it also helps protect this stack that he's got, because it doesn't want to get these liabilities back, give these captives back to white. Okay, we do see white placing down here at c2. Kind of looks like they're giving up on this vertical threat, knowing that this black capstone can come across and kind of ruin their day, which makes a bit of sense here. And again, these players, while they have started attack at very different times, Johanna back in 2016, Subhog started just recently in November of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. At least that is when he joined the online TAC community. If I'm not mistaken. And so very different in terms of when they started playing, but again, Subhog has played almost 400 more games than Johanna. At 443 games versus 83 games of Johanna. And so Johanna has clearly not played very much lately. Most of those games were back of about almost 5 years ago. Making a comeback here, and we'll see how this goes. White now placing down below, going for this vertical and horizontal at the same time, trying to make this happen because black did place here anticipating this horizontal line, wanting to cut that off, but also trying to build for this vertical as well for black. Black has a very sort of scattered position. You see pieces over here, whereas white is sort of clumped together, is keeping those pieces compact. And that gives a little bit more influence, a little bit more power. It's harder to cut off any threats for white, but black is sort of spread out all over the place. And so you definitely want to keep those pieces condensed into a sort of a cohesive form. And I think that's what we'll see black try to do here in the next few moves, is try to make more connections, make this be more cohesive. Instead, we are seeing a capture, which is interesting. Again, you want to avoid captures unless you absolutely have to make those captures, or unless it makes a lot of sense for your end game, because captures do create liabilities, flat-on-flat captures, that is. Black now, it looks like black might be going for a vertical threat here, but white also able to do some work in this direction. Black now building across. We may even see white just play up here to d6 to cause this capstone to come over. And once that's done, then white can start working on this horizontal road. Maybe with a b2 played first for white, be able to win this capture war onto c2, get that captive back, able to capture over onto some black pieces, and make this horizontal threat a little bit stronger. We do see that b2 placement from white. Black coming across here, really going for that cutoff and making that vertical threat for black. I think we might see white just play here at d1. That would do a number of things. It would cause this to lose a capture war. Also, it would be a vertical tag threat that would need to be responded to by black. And so I think you would see d1 be played for sure. Now black has to respond to this either by bringing this capstone over or capturing over one of these flats. Either of these captures coming over is going to result in that stack being taken by white. Definitely doesn't want to bring this stack over because that would result in a capstone coming up and getting that. Doesn't want that juicy stack to be taken by the capstone. So we may place up here, places at d6 to keep any of that from happening. We may see now this capture onto c1, a capture will occur there, or we may see a flat placed at e6 to renew that vertical threat and force another capture out of black. If white does place at e6 and black comes up with this, white is going to capture over, and that's going to be really tough to stop there. So I feel like an e6 move is actually probably the best move here for white right now. We'll be interested to see what they do, if they go for that e6 placement or if they go for some sort of capture along a different line. In fact, goes for a placement at b3, which I was also looking at that a moment ago, and it doesn't seem to be too bad. It also sort of primes for maybe a c4 down that connects for this horizontal threat at the same time. But I do think b3 isn't too bad because it also stops black from placing at b3 to continue this threat. Instead forces sort of a capture over in that case. But black now has the momentum, can make the first tack threat. That was not the move I expected to see. I expected a capture over, but instead we see the capstone come down. Now I think an e6 placement would be pretty solid. It may force this capstone to come over and get blocked behind the white capstone. And then white's able to do some capture wars over here and make some solid flat count differential moves and work towards that horizontal threat down here at the bottom. But instead, gonna play at c6, which, I mean, I guess that works. e6 would have been much better. We do see from the chat, Nitzel saying SC5 would be good. But no, doesn't work because this stack can come over here for the capture and the win. Oh, missed it. Black wins. Black takes the road. So missed that threat. So the reason why that wasn't working here is we get this stack going to be able to come over here or a placement here. So a wall here or a wall here won't work. There's going to have to be a capture at some point. And so capturing up onto d5 would have worked, and then a wall could have been placed. But no, so it looks like Subhog and Johanna split their games. They both win as black, and that is the end. So they split. So solid gameplay from both players. We did get to see some pretty good games there. So that is all for this match. Hopefully we can go see some other matches pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description at the bottom of this video to see all the TAC resources that we have available to us, including the playtac.com website where you can play folks online, also the rules for the game so you can learn it. Check out the videos on my channel for how to play TAC. Check out the subreddit. Especially check out the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub. It's where everybody goes to talk about TAC, find players to play with, where we organize all these tournaments and everything. It's all on that TAC Discord. That is the place to be. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, Discord is a audio and text chatting web application and mobile application, and it's super easy to use, doesn't cost a thing, and you don't even have to download anything if you don't want to. Thanks for checking it out, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.